All right, everybody, here we are. It is the first update of May and definitely not going to be the last. And we got a bunch of stuff to talk about and share today. So, you know what? Let's just get right into it. Not any talking points, because today we're just talking about everything that has recently happened on JP. And we're going to give a small uh, look at our new character that is available. So, first of all, Master Ability 2s for the month of May are looking pretty good, starting with Helena. The UR version is getting her Master Ability 2. This shouldn't be too surprising, seeing that we know that we're getting basically a Beach Helena version for the summer, so that's pretty uh, pretty much expected. We're also seeing Ruin Stern getting his in the third week. So two major 100 cost dark characters are getting an upgrade here. And from there, we're also seeing Charlotte, which, yeah, Charlotte was the was kind of the odd FFB unit out the previous month. So good to see her. I mean, she was already really good, so she's just going to continue to be good. And last, really notable character for me is Glacie. I mean, we have Raryu in here. I'm not overly excited about that. And we have Saria and Adelard, which could be interesting in the final bit of the month of May. But I think that the 4 URs are pretty noteworthy since Helena is still being run actively. So whatever she gets is just going to make her better. Charlotte is still actively being run, so that's very notable. Stern is not actively run so much on the JP side right now because there are just better dark units for most people. And so I'm not too terribly expecting too much. And then Glacie, it is the dress up version, which is interesting because, as we're about to get into, before we go any further, let's talk about the rings and specifically about Tower. So far in Tower we have lightning, light, earth, fire, and water for rings, and in the data mine there is now a ice elemental ring as well. The ice elemental ring is able of inflicting sleep, silence, ice resistance, and wind resistance. So a very good piece of equipment that I think is going to make ice even stronger. The interesting thing, though, is we don't have a tower event for it yet. So I'm guessing the fact that we have this in the data now is that floor 71 through 80 will be coming very shortly. And it's probably going to be indicative of what we are going to get for our next character. Because as we've talked about earlier, there is a side event right now, which features 4 characters in it. So we have Macherie, who we know is an Earth Elemental character. The 2 in the back, from playing through the event, we know both are classed in-game currently as Lightning Elemental characters. So both have battle models, I should say, and both of them are the Lightning element. Don't know if that means we're getting 2 mid-tier characters that are going to be lightning-based. I do believe that he is fully voiced, and I don't think she is yet. I might be wrong on that. But I do remember that he is voiced, so chances are, at least for the immediate future, we're going to see him as our monthly character. Which brings us up to the next thing. The fact that we have an ice elemental ring, the only reason that we would probably be seeing a ice elemental ring being brought to the game is if a ice elemental character was coming in the near future, and boy, there seems to be one staring us right in the face. So Glacie does have a full model as well as featured in the story, and there wasn't a actual like battle where you got to use her, so I'm guessing that it's a little bit they're holding it back, but yeah, more than likely Glacie is going to be the next character in the second half, probably a 100 cost character because of course. And other than that, yeah, that's all we're going to talk about for the story event. Mild quality of life that I do want to talk about. is the daily dungeons. And the daily dungeons right now, all of them have just been condensed into one. I've talked about this before, but I'll just say it again for people who don't know. So all of these little mini ones have been combined. As for the drop rates aren't anything incredible. As a matter of fact, I'd say that they're still about as good as they were before. But the nice thing is that now you've condensed it. So for 20 stamina, you're for each one, for each go that you have, you're essentially farming them all at once. So it's just a better way of using your stamina. And I don't think that there's really too else much to talk about there, but a generally okay quality of life upgrade. All right. And before we talk about Macherie, let's talk about her weapon, which I have not farmed yet because this came out at midnight last night and I went to sleep instead. So good piece of equipment, a brand new mace that has a increased magic resistance penetration by 20 at a 5-star. Magic resistance penetration, lots of characters have spirit penetration now, not all of them have magic resistance penetration. So I foresee this being a good piece of farming equipment, and if Glacie comes in the second half, then she's going to have a brand new spear that might be able to get through spear resistance, if there is, in fact, a friend. Alright, so let's crash the game real quick, because that always happens. Chill with some cool music while we reload. And we'll talk about Macherie. And Macherie, I'm going to say she actually ended up being probably a little bit on the surface level, just being a little bit disappointing. The one thing that I will really quickly note about Macherie is that her max HP, even with what Earth is capable of providing in terms of great vision cards for HP increases, is really quite low. So if we look down here, just so we can show off the limit burst. Very reminiscent of Sakura's, by the way. And now, hopefully, we're just going to head over here because it's less clicks and there's a good chance that you won't crash it this time. So let's bring up the friend unit and show her off. But yes, this is generally what you're looking in terms of a Earth Elemental team. I think with the Mage team, it's roughly the same. There isn't too much difference. This does have Bahamut. It does have the Alexandrite ring, which before we talk about, yes, accuracy on here, as well as elemental resistance. We'll talk about that in a second. And in terms of resistances, she didn't get charm resistance. She did get berserk resistance. Elementally, there's nothing too incredible here with her. But if we look at her resistances, again, painting an interesting picture to what could be coming in the future. Good against sword, good against magic, good against shooting. Fist probably isn't too concerning, although Tifa and 2B do exist. But spear is her big weakness. Again, could be painting a picture that Glacie is going to be, in fact, our next unit. Not wind, though, probably ice. If we're just piecing together things. Other than that, I mean, speed is fine. She's a fair bit slower, but she seems to be a support range character. And you're probably not wanting her to get in first and then get murderfied. 6,000 HP is not impressive. It's just not. I mean, Sadali is able of hitting 8,000 or 10,000 possibly, depending on how you build him with runes and everything like that. So this isn't really that impressive. Magic is also just on the level, and looking at her defensively, she doesn't really have much defense or spirit to kind of speak of, which is a little bit shocking because honestly, I would expect her to be a little bit better than that. As for her support skills, I mean, accuracy of 25, spirit penetration of 40, and a 50% chance to counter, or counters don't activate on the other character, combined with 20% chance to remove counters from her master ability too. He's very much a character that is capable of removing counters from enemies. Interestingly, though, she did not get any other support skills from her main job. Again, a little bit disappointing. Her primary counter for her new job should be this one. You can see large range on it, which is nice, but not really impressive. Just a damage for damage ability, which is, again, I'm not overly crazy. Arithmetician did get a lot of nice abilities with heal, as well as disable, as well as just damaging large AoEs. So she got the best parts of Arithmetician, not really hard to say. As for Time Mage, she got Meteor, Slow, Float, Haste, Comet, and switch position with targets, as well as Immobilize. Nothing really impressive there. As for Limit Burst, capable of decreasing Earth resistance by 38%, so pretty standard numbers there. And all of that is just kind of paints a picture of just being, yeah, generally okay. I like her kit, the sub part of her kit, but it's not incredibly impressive. This one is her AoE stop, strong enough. Here we have a increase elemental resistance by 20 for 3 turns for an ally, and restore HP. So a single target heal probably is going to be pretty nice in PvP. And then we also have here just restore some HP. Sorry, not restore HP, but elemental resistance could make for a pretty strong Earth Elemental team, or maybe you put her on with a good tank like Joom and make her stronger against all elements. Don't know, but there are possibilities. As for her main job, let's see. There's a couple of effects that were not translated onto Wotv Calc. As far as I know, they are the auto revive one. She does get 2 uses of auto revive, and it will give her some speed back, as well as her HP and reduce her casting time. So we knew that from the live stream. She's able to reduce spirit with some of her abilities, grant protect, as well as increase magic attack for herself by 50, which, yeah, we're probably getting a pretty good picture of what she's going to be. Increase her spirit penetration by 50 off 1. That also increases summon gauge by 125, so a major summon booster. This could be a big deal if summons ever get a huge increase in what they can do. Macherie's evaluation will probably skyrocket. She can also break physical barriers on her large AoE, which is going to be one of the most useful things about her, I think. But this one, deal damage and absorb HP, is probably why she doesn't have the most amount of HP, because otherwise she'd have a lot of sustain once she gets to 25, and she could end up being a nightmare to fight. There are quite a few abilities with casting time on them. The only ones of super note are her auto re-raise, and I want to say this job level 25. Not a huge amount of casting time, mind you, but enough that it could be a consideration of whether or not you're running it. Maybe you just run the Time Mage skill that reduces by 250, and also just with her auto re-raise, you should be fine. It's a strong character overall, but some more glaring weaknesses and not quite feeling as much of a power creep. But that could be just surface level initial impressions, because honestly, having an AoE stop is backbreaking on a character that's going to be run with high faith. A lot of characters just don't have stop resistance, and stop resistance is not the easiest to come by in every team. So yeah, other than that, I mean, Arithmetician, we just know is really powerful. Time Mage potentially gives really good options in PvP for haste. Unfortunately, no Quicken, but that might have been too powerful. And in her own kit, I mean, breaking magical barriers, she's just going to be good on a mage team. And the overall portion of her kit feels like incredibly brittle, but just a really powerful nuke unit that is also capable of charging summons really fast. It could kind of change the landscape of PvP. if people start going more towards summons. Summons are an interesting facet for potentially issuing status effects or dealing damage. So I'm curious about what this could mean for the game in the future. Does that mean that Macherie is an absolute must-have unit? Probably not, just because there isn't anything that really makes her stand out that she would be like Astoria level of like night and day. This is about 12,000 HP on a 1700 attack bruiser that is still capable of getting a lot of resistance. Again, I want to just highlight this as to why I think that this unit is better. You just look at the overall stats compared to Macherie, and it's such in a way higher in everything with double hit capabilities, guts, and like a lot of the stuff Macherie can do plus more. That being said, I do think Macherie will be strong and definitely a unit to watch for in the future. More of a gamble on JP and probably a little bit easier to figure out by the time she rolls around to global. Will probably be pretty helpful for whether or not globalers want her or not, but just to show her on an entirely mage-based team, you can see that there really isn't too much in the way of like any kind of difference. As a matter of fact, we lose a little bit of mage protection, but win team should be able to handle her properly, but that's the status effect and the summons are definitely going to be the things that I'm going to be watching in the future. So you know what, let's just run her one time. I think we can get a okay team here. We'll probably just throw on, I don't know, this one because we get to see some other units. We'll go here. Go to review. I mean, we don't want to be too embarrassing, and we can also get a view here of another character. So this will give us a good idea of general, and I know that's not a nice vision card. It doesn't matter. Let's just get some footage of her going about it and kind of see where her AI goes. So very much running the support early on. Lots and lots of support. Wouldn't say that this is any kind of too terribly of a difficult map, especially now that we just killed everybody. Matter of fact, it might be a good idea to take control for a little bit, and we're just going to put him a little bit further into the back, just because I want to get Macherie doing something. Oh yeah, and we'll also just really quickly, probably should turn on animations. And we'll even just slow it down for this one, just because we want to get better idea. There you go. Yeah, that's right. You use your trick lance ability. Let someone else take it. Not the strongest of enemies to get an idea of how much damage can take, but she does seem pretty good against that. There was a heal. You could see that on a triple, like hitting 3 other units restored her pretty much her entire amount of HP. Still a good amount of damage off of the mace attack too, which again, we kind of know that mace is just really good, and you can also get a little bit of an idea. Ice Dude has really good range on some of his attacks as well, making him great for the new selection quest. But yeah, overall, positive thoughts on Macherie. Think that she is really a strong unit, not as clear night and day, and, you know, a little bit of a warning for people that Macherie might, you know, it looks pretty obvious that Glacie is coming in the second half of this month, and I assume that she will also be really strong and really popular too. So spears may be coming back in the future as well. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Take care. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll have more in-depth review later. See ya.